everyone, this is Teacher Jamie, and today's story is about the kingdom people. This is Galilee. Lots and lots of people live here. Mums and dads, boys and girls, grandparents and babies, aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. Lots and lots of friends. A long, long time ago, all these people in Galilee were all waiting for the king God had promised. They were waiting for the king that would bring them out of the kingdom of darkness and sadness into the kingdom of light and life. And when Jesus the King came, he brought good news, the news that everyone was waiting to hear. But what was that good news? The good news was, say it with me, your God will come to save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, the ears of the deaf unstopped, the lame man will leap like a deer, and those who can't speak will shout for joy. Isaiah 35, verse 4 through 6. Your God will come to save you. What wonderful news! But who had God come to save? And how would God save them? People all over Galilee had heard Jesus teaching. They had seen him doing these wonderful things. Do you think they liked it? Were the people in Galilee happy that Jesus was bringing God's kingdom? Were they happy to hear the good news that Jesus had come to save them? Many of them were. The Pharisees were a group of people that had been watching and listening to Jesus. They were very famous and rich and powerful and important, but they were not happy about the good news that Jesus was bringing. Those Pharisees had been working very, very hard for a very, very long time to be good enough to get into the kingdom of heaven without any help from anyone. They didn't like it that Jesus said they had to say sorry and come to him to be in God's kingdom. Most of them said no to Jesus and kept going their own way, trying to get into God's kingdom by knowing lots of things and working hard and being good. So what about Jesus' disciples? Do you think they were happy to hear the good news that Jesus had come to save them? Well, sometimes they were, but to be honest, a lot of the time they were pretty confused. One day, for instance, as they were walking beside the beach, they started arguing with each other. They all thought they were the best disciple, the one who followed Jesus' teachings the most carefully, the one who loved him the most. So they went to Jesus and asked him, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Jesus' answer shocked them. Jesus called a little child to him, a toddler. He put that little child in front of them and said, "Unless you disciples become like this little child, you will never even enter the kingdom of heaven. Never mind be the greatest. You have to start over from the very beginning. Come to me like this little child, knowing that you still have so much learning to do, so much growing up in the kingdom to do, and that's how I want you to come to me. The greatest people in God's kingdom are the ones who love and welcome the little children, the sick, and the lost. the ones who look for God's hooray. And people brought many children to Jesus so that he could pray for them and bless them. But the disciples were still confused. They still didn't understand the good news that Jesus had come to save everyone and that all people had to do was come to Jesus. The disciples tried to send the parents away, saying, "Jesus is too busy to see children. Go away." Jesus heard this happening and said, "Stop! Let the little children come to me. Don't stop them. The kingdom of heaven is for people just like these children. Let them come to me." And people kept coming to Jesus from all over, just like they had been doing since he arrived in Galilee. Jesus taught them about God's kingdom and showed them what God's kingdom was like as he healed their bodies and hearts and minds. And he loved and welcomed each person who saw him and heard him and came to follow him. And then it was time for Jesus to leave Galilee and go to Jerusalem, for it was there that Jesus would finish the work he had come to do. For in Jerusalem, Jesus would truly save them.